Welcome to the Prolific Pulse Poetry Podcast. This is your host, Lisa Tomey. I'm so grateful today to have Ambika Devi here today. She's an international award-winning best-selling author of 6 books, an astrologer, a meditation Jedi, and creative sexagenarian who stuffs her backpack with colored pens, a journal, a Kindle, a passport, and a deck of tarot cards. Her newest book, Cupid is a Bastard, is an intimate peek into her world of love, dreams, and fantasies. And you can find your copy at ambikadevi.com. Welcome to our show. It's so wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's such a pleasure to be invited. I'm honored.
Thank you. And where are you speaking to me from?
I am on the East Coast, on the Treasure Coast. It's a part of the East Coast of Florida. So it's beautiful. We have not been flooded out like Miami was. I'm actually at the third highest point in Florida. So if you know your geology, you can find out where I am. It's where pineapples used to be grown. We used to be the pineapple capital of the US before Hawaii.
Did not know that. I know something new today
We
now.
have a railroad that there's been a big thing, to make it for people because it's always been for moving stuff, commodities. And yeah, pineapple was originally grown here. I can stick a pineapple top in the ground and it'll just grow. Real, like, so happy here.
Have you done that?
Yeah, of course.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
They're so sweet. They're really happy. It's a certain elevation above the ocean that they need, and they're happy near the ocean, but not necessarily right at. But they do like to catch that mineral, I guess.
Oh, you are quite the accomplished author. 6 books under your belt. That's amazing.
Oh, wow,
How
thank
many
you.
how many years have you been writing?
Since I could hold a crayon, I started out by stealing my older brother's books, mostly things published by Mad. Remember Mad Magazine?
Absolutely. I used to buy it all the time.
Okay, so I used to sneak in his room. He had Mad Magazine books, really snarky ones, like snappy answers to stupid questions. That was the first one I snatched. And he had Mad Magazine, and I saw the little cartoons in the gutter, in between the pages. They used to put the Spy versus Spy.
Yes.
I know if you look it up if you're a
Oh,
freaking
I'm familiar
millennial.
with them. I don't know about our listeners, but awesome.
And I used to um, I used to take his book and read it, of course, and then I would draw different cartoons, not plagiarizing Spy versus Spy. I had my own characters, but a la Spy versus Spy in the borders or write responses to things. And I was teeny. Needless to say, we don't have much of a relationship. He's my half brother, and yeah, I wish him peace.
I'm glad you had the opportunity to at least get into the magazines and practice your skills and become a writer.
Well, when I was allowed, I started subscribing to Mad Magazine. That was my first thing, graphic novels. I really liked those. So I've created, little strips and stuff, but not really. I've never done an entire book. I made an attempt once, but um, yeah. It'd be great to collaborate with an artist on that. I think that'd be really fun. I have the artist for the longest time. Well, I wrote my first book for 13 years, everybody. So if you're writing, I want to encourage you to just relax and realize it'll birth when it's ready to birth. And when I coach writers, I always tell them that may not be the first big one, and capture everything. These are my tips that I give to writers all the time is be patient with yourself because really good things take time and they have their own timeline. Two, capture everything. So have a system in place. I use Otter AI. I don't get any payment for that, so But I do recommend, I use that in Evernote. So I have cross platform ways to capture things. I can voice text, I can talk to Otter and it will take dictation. It's not perfect, but it's pretty dang close, and you have the recording so you can listen to it. And then don't doubt anything. Put it down. You've got to trust. You've got to trust everything that comes in your head. Don't wonder, I don't know where I'd use that. What's the point of that? No, no, no. Capture, capture, capture. Which is back to two. See how that works? And then have a filing system. Just name stuff. I don't care how you do it. And, I know some people really need an outline and a timeline, and that's great. I'm definitely not that way. I have files and files about stuff, and I'll use it sometime. And sometime it blows my mind when I'm like, oh, yeah, I wrote something about that, and I go looking for it because my crazy mind connection has a way to figure out where I put it.
Exactly. I'm the same way. I keep a lot of weirdly named files, and it all magically kind of works together. And of course, thankfully, you can also put a word in and find pretty much what you need. So
Hmm.
that's really helpful. So tell me about your shirt that says "Right On." I'm familiar with that from our finelines.org group. That's our
Ah,
spreadsheet that
yeah.
we.
It's my motto for the year.
Okay.
It's this T-shirt. Write, everybody who's maybe just listening. It's write WRITE space ON and then period. Just wanted to get the grammar in there. That's for you, Rusty, my editor. That's the other thing. I in first drafts, everybody don't care about punctuation. Just write, draw, scribble, do whatever it takes, but just put it down. So this is my motto because I'm honoring. I made my sixth book, and the fifth and fourth are actually the same book. The fifth one is in Spanish. So, but hey, I published it, so it's another book. It counts. And
Was
I wanted
Spanish a
to.
second language for you?
It is, but my art designer, who is a genius, who did the cover, we co-design. My art department, because I'm my own publisher. My company's Mythologem Press is she does all kinds of artwork for my website, and I met her when I lost my designer. He died during my third book. We had gotten about halfway through the design project, and I didn't even know. It was a whole thing I went through. See what I mean, everybody? You have to let these projects do their own thing. You can't. How could I struggle against that? I didn't know what happened. He disappeared. I finally tracked down what happened. And, uh, you know, it was just, it was sad. And yeah, I'm so grateful I was able to, because his widow was trying to collect on all of the outstanding projects. And of course, I wanted to help her. And there I was, mid project, with no designer, no layout, no. We had done another project together, and he was brilliant. My first project was, I met him when I was with a publisher. Then my publisher said, "Go jump out of the nest, little bird. You need to be your own publisher." He pushed me out of the nest. And then I took the rights to the first one, so I had to redo it as a second edition. And thankfully, I said, look, I worked with Ron. You let me work with this guy one on one. And I feel like I need to do that for I had a 3 book deal with him, and I was leaving after one. So, uh, he did let me have the designer, and not, solely, just share the designer. And that was brilliant. And then we started another project because I had already 3 in mind. And the first is a novel, the second self enrichment, the third poetry. Go figure.
The cover really stands out. I mean, you couldn't, if I were in a store just browsing through books. It would just stand out on the bookshelf. And it's like, wow,
Which
this is
one?
really
Which
awesome.
one?
Cupid is
All
a
of them?
Bastard
Oh,
comes.
Cupid is a bastard. Well,
All of them are pretty
you get
colorful.
better and better. Well, I did the artwork. I did the computer graphics. I directed the photo shoot and made the origami for Unfolding Happiness. The first book is Lilith. That's computer graphics. I did all that. Because I got into an argument with my first publisher when it came to, so what do you want the cover to look like? And he wanted this like really basic blah. That's what he was offering me. I'm like, dude, I went to art school. I can do better than this. So he's like, fine, we'll see. I said, I did a board game for somebody. I could do this. And so I did. And for the second one, I had an idea to uh, it's co-authored with a doctor, with a former MD turned Ayurvedic doctor, and it's called Unfolding Happiness. So I wanted a lotus flower on the front. So I thought, well, I do origami. So I made an origami lotus flower, and I used my hands as the hand model, and went to a friend of mine who's an incredible product photographer. Like with things like food that blow your mind and make you hungry, and all sorts of stuff, and models. He was like the yoga model guy. And I called him up and said, hey, can we do this? He's like, sure, come. So we did that one. And The Wizard and the Wrench, I got an idea that that's poetry. I'm the wizard, and the wrench is Dominic, the other poet. He used to be a Ferrari mechanic. So I went over to his house and I said, Dominic, let's go in the garage. Find me your biggest, like, funkiest looking, wrench of some sort. And he pulled out this adjustable, and it was perfect. So I found somebody who made little felt wizard hats, and that's what we did the photo shoot for that. Then with Catalina, my current designer, we started getting into digital collaging. I love collage. I make magazine collages, vision boards, every year, and I always loved collage. And so now she just gets in my head, and I tell her what to do. Some of the elements I created. Some are photographs that I took that of me. That's a selfie. This cover is so the cover, some of the photography in there is mine. Like the pie I made because there's a pie recipe in the book. So
Oh,
I had a friend over and we had a tea party and I did a photo shoot. So I really, I went to art school, everybody. So, the imagery, the whole book has imagery, the poems have imagery. And I wanted to pour some of that into this project. Now, when I got together with my editor to start thinking about editing this project, it's poetry, it's flash fiction, it's a short story. That's what started the project. And then so what happened, I'm in Rusty's writing group. We call it the Scrivener's Coven. You can write Scrivener with a
oh,
V or a B, but we chose B because it's better numerology. I know some of you just cringed. Get over it. And hey, I name stuff with proper numerology. I want it to be successful and to have the vibe I'm looking for. Words are vibration. And just like Don Miguel Ruiz said in the Four Agreements, we have to be impeccable with our words. So that's part of me doing that. Um, yeah, so this book is a recipe. So I was in a weekend retreat. We do them bi-monthly. So we'll make sure that listeners and viewers can find Rusty if they want to. You can find her through me. You can always just go to my website and send me a message. Like, I want to get in that writing group. We'll see. She has several, many, but I'm in the oldest original cyberspace one, and I'm a big part of them because I lead guided meditations. That's a whole nother part of me. I lead guided meditations on the first night of our retreat weekends, which people rave about. And I put the really good ones up on Insight Timer. and also my podcast, and they find their way to some other top meditation podcasts too. And I do it for writers. So it's to induce dreaming and scheming the night before our weekend retreat. And we write from prompts. Rusty's a genius at choosing prompts. So she pulled some prompts that weekend, and I got inspired because I had just had a really unsavory kind of an experience. Not terrible, but with dating apps at the beginning, just before the lockdown, because I found myself single as a sexagenarian. It's so fun to have the word sex in something and be able to just say it, which means you're in your 60s, everybody. and
The prime of your life.
and Rusty pulled a prompt, and I was like, I put Cupid is a bastard at the top of the page and wrote a one-page start to a short story for a quick prompt, maybe 20 minutes. I don't know how long we wrote. And that we had a guest speaker there. She was there that morning. And she is in the publishing business. She hooks people up with agents and is a maven at advertising. And when we come back from our writing spurts and sprints, and we read to each other, it's unbelievable how inspiring doing this is. This is the only kind of writing group I want to belong to. I want to hear what everybody did. I know there's other types, and that's great, and they work for people, but I wrote this book during this, what we call them, stay treats. They're on Zoom. And this agent went gaga over the title. And as soon as I got done reading my one page, I went and bought cupidisabastard.com. That's how I brand my stuff.
Go.
As soon as an idea comes, I just buy it. If I don't want it, I let go later. But I know some people collect spoons or shot glasses. I collect URLs. So yeah, that's how this is how Cupid is a Bastard started. And I had already had poems, like I said, everybody, stashed in files. I knew where they were. Some were about lovers, some were kind of dream flash fiction, some were about my feelings dealing with my mother at the end of her life, because I left my life in Arizona and came to Florida so I could be with her. I didn't want to wait till the very end when I had to be here. I wanted to have some fun and hang out. She lived on the beach, you know? So why not? Why not come and enjoy that with her? So I would go down and take my coffee, and she had a pool at her condo, and I'd watch her swim. And then I'd go to the beach for a walk and a swim myself. So we hung out every day.
Glad you took that opportunity. That's priceless.
Well, as a life coach, I tell people to enjoy their lives. You know, I we can get caught in these currents that just sweep us into a belief system or a pattern, and it often takes a coach, somebody outside, a close trusted friend, you looking at yourself like a close trusted friend, so that you can say, whoa, wait a minute, I'm missing all this other stuff, in my life that I'm doing this. I think I'm doing this for, like your family, like your home, like where you live. Maybe travel a little when that gets a little less crazy.
Now, you talked about, I'm curious about the state treat. How does someone sign up for something like that? Because I know people listening are going to be wanting to know about that.
Oh, I have to go fish it for you. I think the best thing for everybody to do, just one contact, just go to my website. You can drop me a message there. Just say, hey, I heard you on Lisa's show. You don't have to use hey if that's not in your vernacular. Just go to my website, ambikadevy.com. I'll spell it for you. That's AMBIKADEVI.com. And you can just scroll down. There's a place to send me a message. Just ask to have a connection with Rusty, because I'd like to introduce you in person. We can figure out how to do that. That works. I know how to get Rusty and what she prefers. So, and I could just give you our website, however you like. I like to always encourage writers. I mean, that's why we're here talking about this, right? It's not just
Like,
about sell a book. It's really about, I want you to write. My publisher was my writing coach, my first publisher, Nick Ligadakis. He's had multiple publishing companies, and those are a lot of crazy stories, but we won't go there. And I was with him, and I hired him. I heard about him. He's also a famous chef. Always good to work with people who can cook
yeah.
if you're going to spend a lot of time with them. My co-author on my second book, great cook. I went to retreat at his house. The deal was, I'll write everything, and however I can get it out of you, but you have to cook for me. That was my ghostwriting deal.
Yes, my mentor was a gourmet cook and a wonderful coffee maker, and she would make delicious meals, and then we would sit down and talk shop over them. So it worked out real well.
Excellent. Yes, always good. Um, so okay, I got sidetracked. You talked about food. There's food in Cupid. So when Rusty and I were editing Cupid is a Bastard, we, first she freaked out. She's like, "There's a short story, and you have all these poems, and you're gonna put artwork later. What?" And I'm like, "Don't worry about the artwork. Just forget that. We're going to edit the short story first." She's like, "Well, where will the poems go?" No, 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 Rusty. I can see it in my head. I can see how we get through this. So I had written a much longer than one page short story. And so we worked on that. We focused on that. We got that edited nice. And then I started kind of throwing titles of poems. Because she knew the poems. I wrote many in our state treats over the year. Plus, I had the whole stack of other poems, right? I said, well, then we'll edit. We will do the short story first. We'll drop ideas of like maybe this kind of poem, maybe we don't know what poem. And we started sticking them in different places. And then she said, well, how are people going to know what the heck is what? I said, don't worry about it. I got that covered. Because I'm the artist, right? I knew how to do this. And my designer too, I started talking to her way back. We started on the cover as soon as I got Rusty going on the editing. And then we put the poems in, got the poems edited and cleaned up. And then with my designer, I had her create a key system. So we have little visual aids on the pages. So you know if you're looking at a poem, a flash fiction, or you're back to the story again. And it weaves, and you can read it however you like. We divided up the table of contents, so if you want to just read the short story, you can do that. If you want to just find the flash fiction, you can do that, rather than trying to index things. I just felt like that was easier for the reader. But people do read it front to back. They go with the flow, and then there's artwork, there's photos. It's an ode to my family, and it's about love, everybody, and it brings you back to self-love. When we had to take a break there for a sec because I was getting teary-eyed, and you've had me on an emotional roller coaster too, lady, and I didn't even think to bring any Kleenex here, but I had to go run across the house to get it. And you thanked me too, saying, hey, thanks, I needed that break. And that's another thing, everybody, when you're speaking. I mean, hey, I cleared my nostrils, I cleared my throat. I used to be a singer, so it's like an instrument. When I played drums, I played all kinds of percussion from around the world. Not drum kit, I played with my hands. Some a little with my feet, but not much. And as speakers, we have to remember when we're doing podcasts, and we have to give ourselves grace that sometimes we got to clear the pipes too.
Exactly. Absolutely. Well, are your pipes cleared now that you'd like to
I
read
think
us a
so.
poem?
Oh my
All right,
gosh, I would
love
love
to hear
to.
it. All right.
It would be my great honor, and I marked them off in the book, so I
So,
could. And which one would you like me to start with? I gave you three. I gave you. We talked about gifts. We talked about 99, and and we also talked about late night lockdown. Why don't we just do them in that order?
sounds good.
Is that good?
That's
Okay.
great.
So gifts is about my mama, and uh, I even asked the writing group. There's a picture of her. That's one of my faves. She loved reggae, and we used to go out to reggae shows together. I played in a band in Arizona and toured reggae, and I played a lot of reggae in my duo. So that was a reggae day for us. Oh, glasses would help. I sat on my favorites, my signature ones yesterday. So these are their pathetic sibling. These glasses, but this poem is called Gifts. I'm trying to get a good angle. You asked me what gifts she gave to me. They weren't monetary or tangible. Clothes, the trappings of mundane existence, or things you value. She gave me light that sparkled from her eyes, her brilliant smile from ear to ear when I would pop in unexpectedly for a visit. She gave me songs and laughter, still ringing in my heart. It was love and appreciation for my presence. She left me her scent on beaded necklaces I strung, and on a crocheted vest found in a little market at the top of the world. She gave me love and a purpose that tell me my life has meaning. These gifts I cannot share with you, no matter how you try to bully them from me.
And there's a picture from the book.
It's a weird thing when family come down on you after somebody dies, and it happened to my mom when her mother died, and we had a story in our family, my part of the family, my particular little part of the family. She had a brother who had more children than my mother did, and when so that brother had his children fought around and got grabby wanting some stuff that belonged to my mother's mother, which was essentially aunt, right? Auntie. And my mother said no. you know. And my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, Nanny Fanny, she's in this book too. We shared a room when I was little. She was my first roommate when I was born. So come on, it's ridiculous. These people came grabbing around, and there was this one particular bracelet they were fighting over, which was diamonds and platinum. I get it. I get it. It was an old antique, and my mother, she's an antique dealer, right? so, no. And years and years later, she's living here in Florida. She had a ring that I coveted. All right, I admit it. She had a ring that I wanted that ring. And she used to have a bad habit of leaving a key on a windowsill when she went to swim. And I would say, Mom, don't do this. You can't do this. And she got broken into. And they took the ring, but they didn't take the bracelet. And when we found out and went through everything with the police and saw what they took the ring, but they didn't take her wedding ring. Thank God. And they didn't take that bracelet. They took some other stuff. But it was pretty easy to find her jewelry box. Do you know what I mean? And we knew it was the condo cleaning team. What could we do? They watched her week after week do this. I'm sorry. Someone got hungry. And I begged and begged and begged. And, that's when we become the parents of our parents, people, you know? And I guess I kind of, it's a different feeling than any of the other books. We go through kind of a post-mortem kind of thing when we finish. And the relationship with this particular book has been different, um, because I get drawn back into it. Like, it really sucks me in emotionally. Um, anyway, should we shall we go on and change the mood here? That was gifts. And that was, I see where we're going. Okay, Ambaga, get it back together, lady. So I ended up getting bullied by different people when my mother died. But anyway, that platinum bracelet, I remember what I was trying to tell you, everybody. That platinum bracelet my mother said was cursed. That's why it wasn't stolen. And I'm like, okay, I'm an astrologer, everybody, but I'm not really into the whole sorcery. Oh, I am into Harry Potter, though. I don't really prescribe to that stuff. I don't want to empower it. But I did wonder about the bracelet. So she got an idea to break it apart. Oh my gosh, when I got into Harry Potter and everything kind of came together, the Horcrux thing, and she broke it apart, it was too weird. So she did give me earrings from it. Of course, eventually I got all the parts. I've thought about putting it back together, but maybe not. Maybe not a good idea. But this next poem is 99. And I wrote this on her 99th birthday. 99. Your favorite color was green, the sharp yellow tinged tone that bursts in early spring. You managed to find and collect a myriad of objects coated with this pigment. Ceramic mixing bowls, a cake tin filled with buttons, a Humpty Dumpty tea tin. You asked me in your last weeks to always remember you. The worry in your eyes that it would be possible to forget you welled in my own. I held your hand with as much firmness as your fragile body would allow and swore I could never forget. On your 96th birthday, I threw you a due with your favorite cake. I sliced it up and wrapped pieces for you in waxed paper to enjoy in weeks to come, freezing them as I wished I could your happiness that day. My hunch that it might be your last hurrah, insightful. In the weeks that followed your death, I buried my nose in whatever I could find that smelled like you. Your aura had the scent of vetiver, blended with Shalimar, your favorite perfume. I remember when your beloved little bottle was shaken from the silver tray, nestled on a windowsill in a power washing incident. You glued it back together, an act of kintsugi, the same way you secretly wanted to help everybody find their inner beauty. I celebrate your emergence 99 years ago today, lighting candles and incense, enjoying chocolate and champagne with your spirit.
Beautiful.
I love my mama.
Yeah.
I talk to her every day, all day long, everybody. And I think something that's really important for us to learn is that death is the same doorway as birth. And our culture just doesn't teach it to us this way. They say, I'm sorry. And when I was younger, Lisa, I got into studying foreign cultures. I was pretty obsessed with topics that most 9-year olds aren't. Well, I think I was let's see. I was 7 when I was swiping. I was 6 and 7 swiping Mad Magazine. So, and I think that was geared at what, 12, 13, maybe 14-year-olds.
Probably, yeah.
So I was a little ahead of my time. Did you ever hear of Ruth Montgomery? She's an author. She wrote about aliens, and I read everything she wrote at 9. And then I got into heavy duty authors like Herman Hesse uh, at 12 and 13, Carlos Castaneda also then. So by the time I got to high school, when they wanted me to read Dune, I was like, I actually, I actually negotiated out of that. I was like, come on, dude, that's so thick, and there's so many other books I want to read right now. So I forget. I might have negotiated for Catcher in the Rye. Actually, we had a list, but so many were reading Dune. I read it, but I, I'm sorry, Dune fans. Sandworm, sandworm.
Can't say that I've ever read Dune, but
You can watch a little of the movie. Just fast forward a bit. You'll find what I'm talking about. And any version. And I am a sci-fi freak. I totally am a sci-fi freak. And I can't pick Star Wars or Star Trek. Leave me alone. I love them both. I'm a big UFO nerd, Harry Potter nerd. I taught at a school of wizardry. I wrote a ton of curriculum. So much so I lost count. There's a lot. And it's the brainchild of a dear friend, somebody I admired when I was a teen and used to go to a new age bookstore when I was 13 and sit on the floor and read Green Egg magazine, and that's the magazine that belongs to Oberon Zell. He started that, and then I ended up teaching at his school for 5. I became the dean of faculty. Go figure.
you
Yeah.
have done it all.
Oh yeah. And now I originally the idea. I'm also into upcycling stuff. And I know because I've worked for newspapers and things that require deadlines, I think we all have at one time. Think back to writing book reports, you had them. And maybe preparing a speech, right? So I like that because I'm good at getting it done early and having free time. I like to teach that to people. Don't worry, I can teach it to you. And so I got this brainiac idea when I started working on my PhD, which we'll see if I ever get it. I have a master's though, so uh, and that's in yoga, which is a philosophy. There's lots of writing for that. And when I wrote my thesis, I thought, who the heck is going to read this other than real Sanskrit scholars and yoga scholars? No offense, people who use yoga as an exercise program only, but there is a lot more to it beyond a gym style. And I have been studying since I was about 6, is when I got inspired, and my mama started taking me to yoga class with her. Not really a hippie, she was more of a beatnik. But, I did grow up in that era in the 70s. And yogis came to my school when I was 6. When I was about 8, I met Swami Vishnu Devananda. He was Swami Shivananda's disciple, and that's where I got my name at that ashram, Ambika Devi.
Oh,
So I met him, and I met him with Peter Max. And there was a grouping of books that I adore, and this one called Thought. My family wasn't that wealthy, everybody. This was before my mom went in the antique business. Not that was more hobbyist. She had fun with it, but it was dangerous because we couldn't get attached to anything in the house because the house was the shop for a long time. So I might have fallen in love with a rug or my bed, and I could come home and it was gone. So I learned non-attachment at an early age from my mom, which is a yoga thing that so many people struggle with. But anyway, she knew I was so in love with Peter Max. Maybe some of you were too. He did spy versus spy kind of graphics on the Sonny and Cher show. And I was in love with those graphics. And I had to have a set of sheets that looked just like it. And it looked just like the interior of these books. And I still have one pillowcase. Can you believe it? Still attached. Okay, I admit it. Um, I don't know why. I guess I'm a collector. Did you see the movie Everything is Illuminated? It's about a collector. I highly recommend it. I show movies every month for people that are a part of that. I call it part of my community. It's allowing me to send you one email a month. I don't kill you with emails, but if you want on my list and you like movies, I think that's how I learned to write dialogue is in movies and sitcoms. Because hey, dialogue is a thing in literature. If you're going and there are more ways than reading classics to figure it out, and if you're speaking to the current population, wow, I think it's worth it. And so are graphic novels. Those are big right now. So those of you who maybe have an ebook, that could be. I like to look at people's projects and ideas and help them figure out maybe how to pursue it and connect them with people in my community. So anyway, we get together every month and we watch a movie, and we watched it a few months ago. Everything is Illuminated. I love that one. Peter Max inspired me, and the words in this book thought this was the book I got to pick. There were four. I have the collection, but my mama said no, only one book, and they were $1.99. Everybody makes me sound like I walked to school in bare feet in the snow, and I mean, think about it. A book, a hardbound for $1.99. Isn't that wild? I have my original. I read this book every night before I went to sleep. This was my nighttime me reading. Maybe you have a book that you do, and my favorite page has the artwork is Peter Max. The words are Shivananda, Swami Shivananda, but kind of maybe interpreted a bit by Swami Satchitananda, which Swami Satchitananda is a direct disciple of Swami Shivananda. So was Swami Vishnudevananda, who I met, who did something to me. That's how I am this way. You don't have to ask. I want to read you this page. Thoughts are bricks with which character is built. It is formed. Man's thoughts are the architects of his circumstances. I was reading this at age 8 every night. And now I use that a lot with my clients, but I add to it, and your words, especially your speech, is the construction crew. So, as Don Miguel Ruiz says, let's be impeccable with our words, especially about self.
Would you like to take us out with a poem?
Yes, and this one's a little lighter, everybody. Because I did pick a couple well, 99's heavier, but and Gifts is a little there because there's some edge in this book. But I chose two poems about my mama because I wanted to honor her today. And there's a lot of kind of stuff in this book too. There's, it's hot. There's spice. There's a little something, something. And remember, I put a lot of this together. A lot got written during the first year of lockdown. So I was out walking one night, and that's how this poem got formed. Late night lockdown. Sneaking out long after sundown. Eerie quiet, just nothing. No sounds other than the cloak of night. Everyone locked in. I needed it. I wanted it. Pacing the house had become monotonous. Turning a corner on a dimly lit street, I stopped, breathless in my tracks. First, he appeared in the darkness, having slithered out from the thick hammock of foliage, muscles gleaming in the sliver of moonlight. I could feel his breath, though I was yards away. Then she appeared, sleek and golden, light as if a feather. Though equally strong as her mate, I imagined. They nuzzled, curled around each other, then paused. Silently, I watched as the pair of big cats gracefully moved across my path, disappearing into thick woods.
Wonderful. I love it. My good friend lives in Turkey and they are cats everywhere.
Big wildcats?
Yes. A lot
We
of,
have
lot of
a we I live in a wild preserve. That's why I bought my house here because I had a sneaking feeling and also there were signs, advertising that there were plots of woodland, wildland getting ready to be like whoosh, and it blows my mind. It blows my mind when you show up at a store and they're gone and it's empty. But it's even more of a mind blower when you drive around the corner and a corner of forest is gone overnight. And it's happened in my neighborhood a lot. I mean, I got here 15 years ago before it happened, but it snuck through in the last 2 years, heavy. And I feed the wild creatures. I live in a wild preserve. I have alligators, I have bobcats, and that night, panthers. It was cool. And they
That
were
does sound cool.
gorgeous. And it blew my mind. And on those late night lockdown walks, one night I got chased by a gang of possum.
Oh no.
They were trying to get into some garbage cans as a gang. It was just like a Disney cartoon. And a few of them came at me. Rah, rah, rah. They were barking. I haven't heard possum bark that many times, so I haven't really learned how to speak the language. And when they wiped out the forest near me, thankfully there's forest here that won't ever get touched. I mean, that's why I bought it. I wanted some wildland behind me and in front of me. Yeah, I got neighbors on either side, but it's wild and it's a nice big wildland with a big lake and far behind me. There's woods. The alligators have never come up to the
That's
pool.
good.
Well, here in Florida, we screen our pools. We make screen rooms so you don't get things in your pool. Occasionally a snake or something will get in, but not a gator. Not unless your
Good
screen's
thing.
down. Yeah. Well, we're not idiots. Well, I know the rest of the world. Some of us are smart.
Oh. Well, it's been wonderful having you on here today. I wish you nothing but the best.
Well, thank you, Lisa. It's such a pleasure. I'm so honored to be able to share my poetry and I hope I've piqued your interest a little. I would love for you to check out Cupid is a Bastard.